Hi, this is Chris with Nightfall Audiobooks, and I have an announcement to make. I have received requests for more Christopher Pike. I got into Pike when I saw a girl on my bus reading The Last Vampire. I asked her what it was about, and the short synopsis she gave me was so good that I ended up checking out the book. I fell in love with it, and I bought the rest of the series. I had gotten tired of Fear Street by that time, and R.L. Stein had gotten a little stale. I was looking for a new author to embrace, and Pike was it. I own a handful of Pike books. They either resonate with you or they don't. His books tend to be a little more sci-fi and out there than I'm used to. Don't get me wrong, I am no stranger to sci-fi. I grew up watching Star Trek The Next Generation, some of DS9, a little of Voyager. We all know when we all joined Voyager, right? Some of Enterprise. I love me some sci-fi. Firefly is amazing, and Outlaw Star is too. I digress. Pike's book, The Season of Passage, about an astronaut crew that ventures to Mars and finds monsters, is very strange. It's paced very slow, and it's so depressing, I only read it once. So like I said, resonates or it doesn't. Some of his books, Monster and Whisper of Death, rank among my most favorite of all time. In fact, when I began planning the content for this channel, those books were on a list of books to do to reinvigorate my passion if I ever got burned out. I'm glad I have that list because I've come close to burning out a few times. The books on that list are ones that I cannot wait to share with you. I don't plan on covering Pike's entire library. There's simply too much, and like I said, I'm a fan, but not a big enough of a fan to accomplish that task. On to The Last Vampire. It was originally 6 books running from 94 to 96, and 3 more came later running from 2010 to 2013. One day I was in a used bookstore with my wife, and I stumbled across the Thirst series. I had no idea that there were 3 additional Last Vampire books, and the price was so right, I picked up Thirst 1 through 5 for under $20. The Last Vampire is my gold standard for vampire fiction. It's so good that I figured any author that wanted to write about vampires would have read it. You can imagine my surprise when the Twilight series came out and how drastically different that was. I have an interesting history with Twilight. Perhaps I'll get into that another time. Here's where it gets sticky. Thirst 1 is an omnibus consisting of The Last Vampire 1 through 3. Thirst 2 is another omnibus consisting of The Last Vampire 4 through 6. Thirst 3 is The Last Vampire 7, The Eternal Dawn. Thirst 4 is The Last Vampire 8, The Shadow of Death. And Thirst 5 is The Last Vampire 9, The Sacred Veil. There are supposed to be more Thirst books on the horizon, but the last I could find was an update from Pike himself from 2016, saying that progress was going well and promised more fresh Pike soon. He's supposed to be self-publishing the last 3 books in the series, so maybe it's financial troubles? Who knows, but I wish him the best. I grew up with the Last Vampire books 1 through 6, and those are the ones I'll be covering. They are perfect, an excellent series, and they wrap up very nicely. I have put some thought into the voices, and I think I can do a pretty good job. I'll only be covering the first 6 books in the series. Thirst 3 through 5 are simply too long. I read them, and I'm afraid they're not very good. I didn't like how Pike retconned the ending in The Last Vampire 6, and it didn't sit well with me. The stories themselves are too long, and they don't add anything really meaningful to the universe. There are some really fun parts, but I don't think it's worth covering those books entirely. If you had your hopes up for Thirst 3 through 5 being covered, I will not be fulfilling that wish. Regarding Pike's library, I only have plans for The Last Vampire 1 through 6 and one other Pike book. I will not be covering any more of his library. I do not have a time frame for when these books will be released. Don't worry, I'm not going to release 1 book a year like I usually do with the Fear Street Cheerleader series and The Babysitter and so on. When I do release The Last Vampire, I will do books 1 through 2 in 1 year, then books 3 through 4 in another year, then books 5 through 6. They are really good, and I want to share them with you sooner rather than later. I don't want to string you along and make you wait forever for them. Thank you very much for listening. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that join button to show your support. I'll see you next time.